Title of the project: Capacity Buildings Project. Note: this program is financed by the Capacity Buildings Project with the support of the Global Environment Facility. The general objective of the project is to build the national capacities in terms of information management and environmental knowledge for the implementation, the monitoring, and the drafting of reports on multilateral environmental agreements in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals in Benin. Protection and sustainable management of wild spaces. A zoom on the implementation of the CITES in Benin. Protection and sustainable management of wild spaces in Benin. The need for concerted actions. This is the theme that brought together on the national television Captain Ulysse Korogone, national focal point of the CITES, head of the Policy, Studies and Monitoring Service of Agreements and Conventions at the Directorate General of Waters, Forest and Hunting, and José Dossou Bodjrenou, Director of Nature Tropical NGO. Defining the CITES, Captain Ulysse Korogone explains that it is the acronym for the Convention of. Defining the CITES, Captain Ulysse Korogone explains that it is the acronym for the Convention on International Trade of Endangered Wild Fauna and Flora Species. The CITES was enforced on July 1st, 1975. Benin acceded to it on February 28, 1984, and ratified it on May 28 of the same year. It is a convention that essentially aims at ensuring that international trade of species does not harm the survival of species. In the end, states get together for the trade to be regulated so that there is a mechanism to promote conservation. This trade is based on three principles: legality, sustainability, and traceability. This allows the states which are to receive the wild species to be able to verify the authenticity or the legality or the traceability through which these species are exchanged. It is a complex mechanism which imposes a number of principles on states. For José Dossou Bodjrenou, this convention is there to help. People need to understand that since 1975, there have been texts that even regulate what they have in their homes and think they own it. If already in 1975, the international community felt that such a regulation was necessary, it is because there was already a problem, and the problem is trade, which seriously threatens resources. Regarding the ignorance of the CITES by the general public, 46 years after its adoption, the focal point reassures that everything is being done to remedy that. At the level of management body of the CITES, there are actions that are being taken more and more to make it known. People need to understand what is allowed and what is not, because even the breeding of a certain number of species is subject to conditions. If you have to go to trade, there are conditions as well. We are at the level of international trade because we must leave to the state its sovereignty to develop national tests that allows it to implement the provisions of the CITES at the national level. In Benin, we have even stricter measures than those of the CITES. I will take the example of the three commonly known as COSO, which became Annex 2 of the CITES in 2016. In Annex 2 of the CITES, trade is not prohibited, but the government of Benin has said no. Even for purposes of national consumption, the exploitation of COSO is banned. About the functioning of the CITES, the focal point explained that it is based on a system of permits and certificate. Therefore, The degree of conservation or threat to a species depends from one species to another. Every 3 years, the Conference of the Parties, COP, the supreme body of the Convention, is held, and on the basis of a certain number of elements, species pass from one category to another, or which depart from nothingness for a category, like the giraffe, which was added to Appendix 2 of the CITES at the last COP in Geneva in 2019. Every 3 years, the Conference of the Parties, COP, the supreme body of the Convention, is held, and on the basis of a certain number of elements, species pass from one category to another, or which depart from nothingness for a category like the giraffe, which was added to Appendix 2 of the CITES at the last COP in Geneva in 2019. The CITES has 3 appendices on which Captain Ulysse Korogone returned. Appendix 1 lists species that are prohibited from trade, such as the elephant. In this context, there may be exchanges for scientific purposes, exchanges for conservation purposes, but exchanges for commercial purposes are prohibited. In Annex 2, trade is permitted, but on the basis of strict principles. You must have a non-detriment finding for the purposes concerned. A quota must be defined to be validated with the Secretariat of the Convention, and permits must be issued on the basis of the quota. Annex 3 includes a number of species that countries, given the level of threat, ask other parties to help conserve them. For the first 2 examples, all country parties have the obligation of reciprocity and strict control. Ulysse Korogone and José Dossou Bodjrenou also spoke about the implementation of the CITES in Benin. For the director of the NGO Nature Tropicale, implementation does not pose a problem in Benin. The problem is that not everyone is playing their part. There are things that are really regulated by this convention. Perhaps they are not well known, but the threats are there, and we must draw the attention of the populations to them. The state is playing its part, but the populations are the dangers to these resources. All species of marine turtles are in Annex 1. That is to say, fully protected. You must not kill them, collect their eggs, or trade their shells. Turtles come to the coast where you don't have a square inch of protected area, and people do what they want with them. There are killings of the African manatee every year. It is up to the other actors, including the community, to play their part. In the same line, Ulysse Korogone announces the decision of Benin to move to a higher stage. The CITES imposes a number of rules on us, even at the national level. These provisions have been incorporated in the bill, which has been forwarded by the government to the National Assembly. We hope that this law will be passed. This law criminalizes offenses. Before, everything related to wild species was seen as crime with the penalties. Before, everything related to wild species was seen as crime with the penalties that go with it. Today, when you take on a species belonging to the Appendix 1 of the CITES, you are being treated like a criminal. Regarding what is being done to combat the threat to species in Benin, the focal point said that a number of actions are being taken to address it. Awareness raising and training actions are being carried out, both at the community level and at the level of the entire application system, and it is starting to yield good results. The last time at the Cotonou airport, we discovered shark fins that passed for smoked fish. The case continued, and the and the trafficker was tried and sentenced to a firm prison term with fines. This is already a big step. There is awareness at all links of the chain. José Dossou Bodjrenou believes that we have to go even further. We have to work so that the community that helps the trafficker to sell is more sensitive to the animal, and this requires basic education. We must prevent people from killing. We must improve the living conditions of the population around, and we must give them the means so that they have alternatives. When there are alternatives, the resource is protected and exploited differently, and we benefit from it. With the collaboration with NGOs and other actors in the sector, Captain Korogone said he was satisfied. According to him, a very good collaboration is taking place, even if there is a lot to improve on. The issue of displays dedicated to fetishism with animal remains in market was also discussed by the two specialists. For Captain Ulysse Korogone, this is a practice that does not honor Bénin and should be discouraged. For José Dossou Bodjrenou, people need to understand that they are in violation, and to put an end to it, all you have to do is to put in place the means to enact the law. The two experts also commended the progress made in the fight against poaching, both in wildlife reserves and classified forests. The last point on the show was the outlook of the CITES. For Captain Ulysse Korogone, the most important thing is the adoption of the bill mentioned above. Equally important, according to the captain, a renewed interest at the national level for the implementation of the CITES in Benin by dedicating the appropriate means to allow the national focal point to ensure the fullness of their mission.